What is happening out there, rotoscouts baseball fans? Welcome to the Sunday MLB DFS Lineup Card show. My name's Terry McBride. Site is Rotoscouts. We're here to talk our way through 11 games on a Sunday afternoon. We got to get through this one by, let's call it 12:30, 12:45, somewhere around there. So we got a lot to talk about. Looks like we've got Lone Wolf in the chat. He was here first. Laura was here second. Chuck says no. Maybe Chuck was here second. It sounds like we got a fight between Chuck and Laura already brewing in the chat. Could be Travis. Got caught slipping fourth is way too late. Trav was asking a question in the Discord asking if 8:15 a.m. is too early to drink on holidays. Or not too early to drink on holidays. Is today a holiday? I wasn't aware that today was a holiday. August 6th. What the hell holiday would today be? I mean, 8:15 a.m. is not too early to drink or smoke or, partake of anything. It's got to be 5 o'clock somewhere, as they say. And in this world of no more time zones and, crossing international borders with Zoom and everything and, being able to be in the same office as somebody somewhere around the world or the same room as somebody around the world, you can just transport yourself to anywhere you want to be and make it whatever time you want it to be. So, yeah, happy hour, man. What holiday? Today, August 6th, is National Wiggle Your Toes Day, National Root Beer Float Day, National Fresh Breath Day, American Family Day, National Sisters Day, and National Friendship Day. So happy National Friendship Day to all my friends out there. Eric B's in the chat. Civic holiday in Canada, first Monday of August. That's cool. National Root Beer. Colin knew that National Root Beer today was today. That's awesome. El Quattro Loco says 5 o'clock somewhere. Yeah. Larry's been up since 4:45. I was up around 4 a.m. I crashed super early last night. I was up early, got all the content done, went up to the Yankee game. I actually ended up hustling back here, made it back here in time. I was thinking about doing a pop-up show, and then I was just like, I kind of wanted to just build my lineups and stuff. So sorry about no show yesterday, but after that, I just crashed at 8:30 last night. Slept till 1:30, 2 a.m. And then I was up from 2 till 5 and then back to sleep. It was just a weird night for me. But yeah, Spaceballs was on at 4 a.m. and I had to stay up and watch that for a little bit. El Quattro Loco says American Family Day would be a reason to drink for some. Chuck says Bolivian Independence Day. Happy Independence Day to Bolivia. All our Bolivian friends. Who else is hanging out? Oh, is today Hiroshima Day? That's a biggie. Be a weird day to go see Oppenheimer then. Spoiler alert. You think anybody doesn't know how Oppenheimer ends? Jamaican Independence Day too? All right. Kicking the English and the Spanish out of this side of the world, out of this hemisphere for 250 years now. So it's an interesting slate. Benny says Spaceball's best opening scene. It's with the extended version of the parody of the Star Wars ship opening scene with the just super long one. Is that what you're talking about? You have to say spoiler alert even if it's for The Godfather. Yeah, but I mean, when we're talking about something that's historic, I mean, I haven't seen it, so maybe Chris Nolan goes for the Quentin Tarantino approach and changes the ending and changes something about World War II. But, I'd be surprised. I will say that much, and I haven't heard that. I don't feel like it's a spoiler when we're talking about things that have happened in history. Don't tell me what Fredo did. What did Fredo? Fredo didn't do anything. No. Can't stop watching replays of Timmy Anderson getting knocked the hell out, says Shannon Lambert. Yeah. That was, I don't remember seeing a baseball fight quite like that, where, they just dropped that was like a hockey fight, right? Dropped the gloves, squared up, and, yeah, Jose got a nice shot off there, and Timmy just went down hard. Timmy was out solid for a little bit. And, yeah, Jose Ramirez, not the only thing that Timmy can't hit this year. Somebody in the chat had a good one last night. Somebody said he dropped faster than his WRC plus this year. That knockout represents his season so far. Yeah, exactly. It'd be interesting to see what happens from here. I mean, they might throw a little suspension at him, let him end his season early. Something, who knows? That was a weird one. Tim looks stupid. Yeah, he definitely did. If you're gonna square up like that, you can't take that punch and go down like that. That's pretty bad. Anyway, interesting slate. 11 gamers, so we do have to get into it and kind of hustle our way through it a little bit. But we had a big scratch off the top. Tyler Glasnow no longer pitching for Tampa Bay. So that was my lead pitcher of the day. It's now going to be Erasmo Ramirez in that spot, and he is nowhere near Tyler Glasnow. It's a minor bump for the Tigers just in general, but I mean, they're still the Tigers, so it's a minor bump for a terrible team. And Erasmo just kind of falls into the mid-board for 55, 4,000 across sites. So maybe he's in play as a discount option a little bit, but he's not really that good. We'll get there. We'll take a look at him. But not really good. The other thing I wanted to call out, Lyon Richardson, the pitcher for the Reds. Not on the FanDuel slate, but it turned out he was on the DK slate. I just missed that he was on there. So I didn't have a projection for him. I didn't have him ranked on the board. I just put a not available on the tools on the site. And he actually is on that DK slate, but he only projects out for a handful of fantasy points because he's probably not going more than 4 innings. He's been really, really good in the minors this year, but he's not pitched more than 4 innings all season. So I can't imagine in his major league debut, even against the Nationals, that he's going more than 3 or 4. So I wouldn't use him at 65 on DK. Seems like a stretch. So we'll get into this. I think it's an interesting board. We'll start off again with the pitching board. I think this is it's good to start the show and end the show here because it just sets the structure for everything. So with the departure of Glasnow, now we get Zach Gallen with a monster projection up at the top of the board going up against the Twins and all the strikeouts available there. Brandon Woodruff, obviously a very good pitcher going up against the lousy Pirates. That's a pretty good spot. Rodon is the big question mark, especially going up against the Astros. They hit lefties pretty well. They don't strike out a ton. He's been scuffling like crazy. The price is obviously right. I'm going to take my shots, but I get it if people want to go away from Rodon. Quintana's kind of in that same boat. Just made 3 starts back so far, going up against the Orioles. Not the best matchup in the world. So both of these guys, I think those are believable projections. I think both of the guys are stretched out basically at this point, so we can expect 6 from either one of them. But not the easiest matchups in the world for those 2 lefties. You can throw this lefty on that fire as well. Andrew Heaney with all his problems going up against the Marlins, who, like we talked about on Friday, absolutely smoke left-handed pitching. So there's some questionable lefties here. I'm going to play all 3 of them. I think they're all on the board easily based on their career track records. Heaney's the one I actually trust the least out of that group. But it's all big-time question marks. At least they're priced correctly. Then you get Sandy. He seems to be pulling things together lately. Appropriately priced, I'll say. Maybe a little high for the struggles on FanDuel. Good price on DK. Still discounted a little bit on DK. Charlie, kind of a mixed bag of, either veterans or younger guys right here. Any one of these guys can succeed, but they're not projecting out nearly to the top of the board. Morton's not in the easiest matchup against the Cubs. Taiwan, actually, a little bit low maybe for going against the Royals, but not exactly a great pitcher, just a league average type guy. Justin Steele, good pitcher, terrible matchup. And then you get a lot of just kind of dregs. Dallas Keuchel back in the league. Austin Gomber on the slate today. Zach Greinke on the slate today. A couple of openers on the slate today. Jake Irvin on the slate today. Chris Bassett against the Red Sox. A lot of meh from it's a lot of meh from here down. And it's a lot of not really sure about some of these matchups from here down. And then these 3 guys are totally untrustworthy. So it's kind of become a short pitching slate, despite a lot of name brands, a lot of recognizable talent on the mound. Dimitri asks, am I crazy for liking Keuchel? So I didn't write the article today, so I haven't gone through the game by game of it yet. But I feel like it's probably a stretch. Keuchel's been pitching in the minors throughout the season and kind of for a reason. We'll get there. What's his price at? He obviously doesn't project all that well. 6,000, 5,500. I mean, if you were going to do it, I'd rather have if he was against the Tigers or the Royals or a team like that, the Pirates, the Rockies, somebody along those lines, the Nationals even as a lefty, then maybe going up against the Diamondbacks. They're very low strikeout anyway. They've got a pretty good lineup. They've bounced up and down a little bit over the last little bit, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm there. Yeah, that said, he's been pitching good in the minors. We can pull up the minor league numbers. Yeah, forced his way up to the majors. He had 2 option points in the contract where he could force his way to the majors or get his outright release, and he bypassed the first one. And then when the second one came around, he told them, "Hey, if you want me to stick around, promote me to the major league team." And we're skipping all around right now, but that's all right. Sunday show. Got to bounce around a little. 6 starts in the minors, 32 innings, a 4.01 xFIP at AAA this year, a 1.13 ERA. So the xFIP obviously a lot higher than the ERA, and was pitching to a 21.2% strikeout rate with a 9.1% walk. What was his ground balls looking like? Ground ball still at a sturdy 61.5%. That's always the key with Keuchel is getting those ground balls. So it's more a situation where I think there's a good chance that for whatever innings he pitches, he maybe limits the home run upside for Arizona while not really striking out that many of them. I feel like it's that kind of a start maybe. So maybe takes a little bit of the ceiling away from the Diamondbacks. But I don't know that he's the SP2 du jour. I think you might get further with Erasmo at 4,000 against the Tigers. Joan Oviedo against the Brewers for 69. Even Quintana against the Orioles for 67. It's a good price. Talented enough guy over time. It would not surprise me to see Dallas Keuchel come out, throw 5 good innings, maybe pick up a win if the Twins give him anything. And get out of there. But I wouldn't think more than 4 strikeouts, if that. So, an okay option, I guess. We'll talk about him again in a minute. First game on deck. Mets and the Orioles. So, I do think, like I said, Quintana's on the board for some value pitching. He hasn't been good yet, but he's been working fairly deep into these games. So, just coming right back, they just started feeding him innings. There wasn't any real question mark about his innings pitched. But in the 3 starts, he's gone. Come on. He went 5 innings the first time out, 6 innings the second time, and 6 2/3 the last time out. Gave up 2 runs, and 3 runs in the 3 games. Struck out 3, 5, and 2. Walked a few. It has 6 hits in each game. But I'm just looking for depth at that price from a guy who I do know over time has been a good pitcher, kind of rounding himself into form. There are some strikeouts available in this version of the Orioles lineup, 23.8% overall. A lot of guys who hit lefties fairly well, though. So I don't love the spot, and I would definitely hedge it. I just really like getting the pitcher at the price, 6,700 on DK. 82 on FanDuel I think is worth a few shots. Probably less excited about the opportunity on the FanDuel slate than on the DK slate, where you 5 innings and a win at that price with a handful of strikeouts, you're doing okay at least. And I do think he's got that kind of upside. 3.57 ERA in the small sample, only a 13.7% strikeout rate. But as we've looked at a couple times already since he's been back, 20.2 last year, 28.6 2 years ago in a smaller sample. So I do think there's upside for Quintana. He's got to get it on the right day. There's definitely upside for the Orioles bats as well, though. Adley, Ryan Mountcastle, Anthony Santander, Gunnar Henderson getting another start against lefties and has been looking good against lefties lately. 19 home runs on the season for him, a 124 WRC plus at 237 ISO. Having a great year. Hitting cleanup now. I like that spot for him in the lineup. 49-37. Totally affordable at third base or shortstop on both sides. All 3 of these guys have power. Adley gets on base like crazy, puts the ball in play like crazy. He's going to be a frustrating leadoff hitter for as long as they leave him in that role. But especially for a guy like Quintana today, I think that's going to be a potentially frustrating spot. So depending on what he does with Adley might set the pace early in this game. Mountcastle's got all the power in the world. Santander's got 20 home runs on the season, their most consistent power hitter. Westberg's really good, another premium prospect in the lineup, 3,000, 2,700. Second base, third base on DK. Better positioning than shortstop, third base on FanDuel, but I'll take him on either. Ramon Urias can take any pitcher in the league deep. He's got decent right-handed power against Jose Quintana here for 2,300, 2,700. Dual and triple position eligibility. McCann, of course, I said the day that I said on Friday when I said McCann hasn't been that guy against lefties in quite some time. He went out and had a monster game. So look, that's always been what he's good at is hitting against lefties, but he truly has not been very good even against lefties for the last 2 years. But with him showing something the other day with a 46.5% hard hit rate for the year, 3 homers, 3 steals, a 146 ISO, a 66 WRC plus, all of that got less appealing as we got across the stat line. But he'll take the hard hits. For a catcher at that price, you can throw him in there. You don't want to roster him too many times ahead of Adley Rutschman, though, on the DK slate. He's a mix-in on FanDuel for 24. McKenna and Mateo, playable parts at the bottom of the lineup, but also kind of mix-in options. Kyle Bradish on the other side, 8,500, 9,700. A little high priced on the FanDuel slate for where he's projecting for me. I do think he's a good pitcher. We've gone to him a few times for sure. It's been, they're just whining in the other room now. Come here, dummy. Yeah, it's been a spot we've gone to. I just don't love the matchup against the Mets. I think there are some good players on this team. That said, kind of a flawed version of this lineup for the Mets. So maybe Bradish gains a little ground. Jeff McNeil, Lindor and Alonso still in there, but DJ Stewart hitting cleanup. Narvaez, Mark Vientos, Brett Beatty, Danny Mendick, Rafael Ortega. Not the greatest Mets lineup in the world. Bradish has been pitching well, 22.7% strikeout rate, 3.85 xFIP, a 3.32 ERA. Gives up a little bit of premium contact, but he keeps the ball down. So 44.1% hard hits, 90-plus miles an hour of exit velo. I'm not that concerned about it on an 8.1-degree angle, 2.67% home runs so far. So a good pitcher. It's definitely a good play at the DK price. This is a not top of the board play, but a solid like mid-value mixing type guy. 97, I still think is expensive on FanDuel, given the options available around that price, but I'll have a little bit more of them now, just kind of given the weakness of this Mets lineup. I do like Lindor and Alonso. I don't like Jeff McNeil that much. Just needs to get himself to first base 3 times, and he's not doing that well this season. DJ Stewart, kind of a mix-in for lefty pop for cheap pricing. Same thing with Narvaez at catcher. An okay catcher bat, veteran, with Francisco Alvarez getting the day off. Vientos does have a lot of power. 12.3% barrels, 54.4% hard hits in his 87 plate appearances, 2 homers so far, but a monster power hitter in the minors and a kid that they expect to contribute. Beatty's only been okay. The hard hit rate's coming down. That was something we were latching on to keep justifying shares of him, and that's come down now. Still okay at 43.8% for 2,800, 2,500. He's playable, but he hasn't been great. Danny Mendick, Rafael Ortega kind of mix in guys. So it was a yes to some Jose Quintana value, a little bit more of a yes to Kyle Bradish now, and then definitely some Orioles stacks, kind of like in the mid-range for them. They project low again, but the home run upside is pretty strong. 10th overall on the home run board. So I like the Orioles here. And then diminished Mets. So I won't go crazy with Mets stacks. They ranked in the middle of the board with a better version of the lineup. So probably call it lower third. Blue Jays, Chris Bassett, not looking very good in the model today. Model was all over that Blackburn start yesterday. So pissed I didn't do better. I had so much of them. That said, there were a bunch of guys who put up similar starts, and I didn't have any of whoever the hell it was that had the monster 50-point day on FanDuel, the hitter. Or was that McCann? Was yesterday the McCann day? I'm losing track. When I don't do the show in between, I lost track of what happened Friday, what happened Saturday. Oh, speaking of what happened Friday, congrats to our guy, friend of the site, J187. Went out there and won himself $25K on the FanDuel slate, took the FanDuel slate down. I finished 4th on that one, so I was chasing him. I was on his heels. He was in that spot for hours in a nice sweat, but yeah, he held on. So congrats to him. That was a monster win. Had the wrong logo on his account, but we won't ding him too much for that. But yeah, monster night for him on Friday. Didn't see anything relevant on Saturday, but if anybody took anything down on Saturday, throw it into the chat. We'll talk about it. Let's see. Jake Swale's debating the lock button on Bradish. All right. That's one way to play it. So the Sox going with Brendan Bernardino. He should be in for an inning. He's an opener by trade, and he pitched last night. So I don't expect more than an inning. I think it's, who are the options that they, either Reese McGuire or Chris Murphy are the guys that came down from DK. Reese McGuire's not a pitcher, is he? Chris Murphy, I guess. Those were the guys on the Red Sox. Now that I'm thinking that through. So I don't know if they have any announced bulk reliever. Murphy last pitched on the 30th. So it's probably Murphy. It's definitely not McGuire. So I think you can play some Blue Jays bats here, but this is a weak version of the Blue Jays lineup too. There's no Vladdy Guerrero, so it's Whit Merrifield, Brandon Belt, Davis Schneider, George Springer, Matt Chapman. There's some good players in here. Like, I like Merrifield, I like Brandon Belt, I like George Springer, and I like Matt Chapman. But when you get them surrounded by these guys instead of Vladdy Guerrero and Bo Bichette, it kind of comes down a little bit in my esteem. Kevin Biggio in the lineup today. Alejandro Kirk, so there's no Danny Jansen, who's drawing a nice big home run mark. Kevin Kiermaier, Paul DeJong. That's a really flawed version of the Blue Jays lineup. If you're going there, I think you can extract some value around some of these guys. Schneider's got a home run in his 9 plate appearances so far. I'll pull him up real quick. Uh, 21 homers in AAA so far this year. That's pretty good. He's 24. Doesn't look like he came into the season as a graded prospect. Had not done much, 14, 16 homers in across 3 levels last year. High A, Double A, and AAA. 9 homers in High A and 21. So, an okay bat, I guess. A little bit of pop hitting third today for 2,700, 2,400 at second base. It's a playable part. So if you're going there, maybe you stick Whit Merrifield in the outfield, put him at second. You go Brandon Belt and George Springer or Matt Chapman. But yeah, not great. Still a lot of hard hit balls in this lineup. A lot of double-digit barrel rates here. A lot of good hard hit rates. But not great. We're not going to Red Sox pitching for that, though. Just a little ding to the Blue Jays lineup. On the Red Sox side, going up against Bassett. Always upside against Chris Bassett. If you get him on the right day, he goes 6-7 innings, picks up the quality start, pitches well. He did 2 starts ago, had a decent run of 6 starts where he gave up fewer than 4 runs. Then came out, gave up 4 runs on 7 hits last time. Still struck out 7, allowed a homer against the Orioles. He just hasn't been great this year, and he's had the extreme blow-up spots. In between, he pitches stretches of clean innings, goes deep into games, and gives you some effectiveness at 8,200. So I do think 82, you can throw a couple darts just at the reputation of Chris Bassett, but I don't love it. I don't love it at 9,100 on the FanDuel slate. I think I'm just going to kind of ride with the model here that doesn't like Chris Bassett pitching in Fenway Park against this version of the Red Sox, who have their full lineup in place today. 22.2% strikeout rate overall, a 4 ERA, a 4.35 xFIP, 3.56% home runs on 8.6% barrels. Just not, I mean, we're not looking for safety exactly, but it's just not a good looking play. I just don't really see it today for Bassett. Different situation, we could go to him, but not here. No real need to. Jarren Duran, Yoshida, Justin Turner back in the lineup, Devers, Casas, Alex Verdugo. Enthusiastic yes to all those lefties. Enthusiastic yes to Justin Turner, especially with second base eligibility now on DK. That's big because you can play him and Casas in the same lineup and have him at second base, so you don't have to make a decision between him and Rafael Devers on the other side of the diamond. You just get to play all 3 of those guys on DK now, so that's great. Good flexibility there. Verdugo hitting 6 is pretty good. 4,000, 3,000. He's very cheap for his hit tool. Sorry, that's shot of Hennessy for Travis. But yeah, the hit tool for Verdugo, damn it, that's 2. For Verdugo for that money. He's been a little bit down over the last couple of weeks. Only 8 home runs, 4 steals on the season, a 154 ISO. Still creating runs above average and 15% strikeout rate. Puts the ball in play like crazy. I like Verdugo down there. Luis Urias does have some power for 2,900. 2,000 on the FanDuel slate with triple position eligibility in this lineup. That's an interesting spot. 177, 320, 274 this season is not good. But last year, not a good triple slash really, but 16 home runs. Year before, 23 home runs and 570 plate appearances. That's what we're looking for if we go to Urias for the minimum price with triple position eligibility. 2 positions on DK for 29 is also very good. McGuire in there at catcher, so definitely not pitching. So dumb. Sometimes I just read and I'm like, wait a minute, that didn't make any sense. Pablo Reyes at the bottom of the lineup, mixing kind of a piece. So a lot of enthusiasm, I think, about the Red Sox stack here. I think this could be a good opportunity for them. They ranked 10th on the board by projections, low ranking for home runs, surprisingly, against Bassett, which that's because of some of these guys down the bottom here. Urias surprisingly low. Reese McGuire basically no ranking. Pablo Reyes not much. So a lot of these guys kind of dragging that average down. Still obviously good home run upside for Devers, for Casas, Justin Turner. Duran and Yoshida, less home run hitters, but either one of them could turn on the ball. So a little bit more home run upside than the board might suggest. And then they're getting good value marks on both sides. A lot of cheap prices here. A lot of the Red Sox are still underpriced. Rafael Devers at 51.33. I'm sorry, that is just underpriced. I know he hasn't hit for a great average. He's only creating runs 25% better than average versus like 40 something last year. 40 exactly last year. 27 home runs in all of last year in 614 plate appearances, though. He's got 26 home runs this year. 253 ISO up from last year's ISO. 266 is down from 295. 336 is down from 358. He's just a different hitter, but it's not like he's a bad hitter this year. For fantasy purposes, arguably, we would rather have him hitting home runs. So why is he cheaper? Doesn't really make sense. So that's, no pitching really in this one, although a couple shots of Chris Bassett on either side are fine. He's obviously got the track record to justify a little bit of trust. Definite enthusiasm about Red Sox bats, and mix and match Blue Jays bats. Just with given that lineup, obviously not intimidating pitching, but just kind of a mid-range option. Astros and the Yankees. So Carlos Rodon, this is yet again another annoying day where Carlos Rodon is going to screw me in a lot of my lineups. Last time out, 4 innings, 4 runs, 2 homers, 4 walks, 5 Ks. Got to get the walks under control. The walks are killing his efficiency, killing his ability to pitch into these games. So over 5 starts, 24 and a third, 18.3% strikeouts, 14.7% walks. That is terrible. 5.50% home run rate on 11.1% barrels. He's been bad. Last year, 33.4% strikeouts, 7.3% walks, 1.69% home runs, 6.5% barrels. Basically the same guy the year before. He is an absolute apex predator on the mound when he's going right. He's just not going right. He was injured for the first 2/3 of the year. It was a back thing. They shot him up with a bunch of cortisone or whatever it was. Said he was feeling better. I suspect he's probably still pitching through pain. This is the organization that let Anthony Rizzo play first base and hit every day for 2 months with a concussion. Who knows what Carlos Rodon is pitching through at this point. I'm going to go to it. Like I said, I just cannot get away from this pitcher and his known upside, even against the Astros, who are elite against left-handed pitching. Given how he projects, given how he's priced, given what his ceiling is. But I totally get it if everybody else wants to skip it, and I'm only kind of endorsing it. Like for public consumption, it's like a tepid endorsement. For my lineups, I'll have way too much of. The Astros, just to put numbers on it, it's going to take me a sec, but it's worth putting numbers on their quality against lefties. It's also 11:45. I do have to keep the clock in mind today. Astros active roster against lefties. 12th in baseball, but that's a 114 WRC plus. It's just a lot of good WRC plus marks against left-handed pitching, and a 17.7% strikeout rate, which is the best in the league, I believe. Yeah, Arizona at 17.9. That's by the way, as far as the Dallas Keuchel play goes, 17.9% strikeout rate against lefties for Arizona. So keep that in mind. 17.8 for Cleveland. Yeah, I think pretty sure that's the best in the league. I could just sort the column that way. 17.7, best in the league. Colorado Rockies, by the way. I hope you guys were on that Steven Matz play yesterday, whether or not it worked out. It started out really well, but just the Rockies, I wrote about it in the article, 30.8% strikeout rate against lefties and a 59 WRC plus. As a team, they're 41% worse than average creating runs. That's bananas. They're so bad against lefties. Just all season, the rest of the year, not outside of Coors Field, just fire away with lefties against the Rockies. All right, so let's get back into this spot. So Rodon, yes, Jose Urquidy on the other side, 6 starts earlier in the year, 18.7% strikeout rate, 8.1% walks, 4.88 home run on 9% barrels, 5.20 ERA, and a 5.16 xFIP. I think this is a spot that leads into the Yankees' bats a little bit. Aaron Judge back in the lineup, Giancarlo Stanton, Gleyber Torres, Jake Bauers. Decent, okayish top 4. A little bit of power, obviously, in that spot. Urquidy, as far as a pitching option, 73-74. I don't think he's priced correctly because he's only going 5 innings max. First start back. Pitched through 70-some-odd pitches in his rehab start. But they're not expecting more than 5 here from Urquidy. So, very limited option going up against the Yanks in Yankee Stadium. I just don't see the... And wasn't pitching well early in the season, so I just don't really see the need to go to Urquidy here. You can go to some Yankees bats. It's the top 4 that I just named. DJ's still a mix-in for me, especially because he plays 3 positions on FanDuel for $2,900. At third base only at for $3,200. There's probably better third basemen on the DK board, but if you're building a bunch of Yankee stacks, he belongs in some. IKF is just bad, $2,400, $2,800. He does have triple position eligibility on FanDuel. As a $2,400 outfielder on DK, I'd probably rather go to Harrison Bader, even though their numbers are pretty similar. Bader, believe me, is the better bat between the two of them. They're both inconsistent. They're both minor contributors overall, both below average for WRC+, as is Anthony Volpe. Kyle Higashioka, a little bit of pop in the bat, 11.1% barrels, 46% hard hits, only 6 homers and 188 plate appearances. Another infrequent contributor, but can put bat on ball well. So these bottom 3 guys, any one of them on any given slate sense can contribute. DJ can contribute, but has not been. Much better hitter over time. We know that, but he's been flat bad for the past 2.5 seasons. So, where have you gone, DJ LeMahieu? I think he took the bag from the Yanks and went off and hid. But Bauers is a playable part. 2,600, 2,800, 11 homers and 191 plate appearances. Lefty targeting the short porch in right field at Yankee Stadium. No Billy McKinney today. I like it when they get both those lefties in. Like IKF, not the lefty that Billy McKinney even is, let alone Anthony Rizzo. On the Astros side, I definitely will take some shares of Astros going up against Carlos Rodon here. Jordan Alvarez back to the 3rd spot in the lineup. Kyle Tucker hitting right behind him, cleanup. Don't worry at all about lefty-lefty, even against Carlos Rodon with those 2 lefties. They're just very, very good at maintaining their quality against left-handed pitching. There's tons of home runs here for the Astros through the core. Alvarez, Tucker, McCormick hitting 5th is a great spot for him in the lineup. He's still cheap at $4,300 on DK, having a great season, over 282 plate appearances, and just a hitter that we believed in coming into the season. Always a sturdy contact profile, high strikeout rate, but a good hitter, good bat on ball guy, can steal bases. 15 homers, 12 steals on the season. Jose Altuve, obviously from the leadoff spot. That's kind of a no-brainer if you're building Astros stacks. Same with Alex Bregman. 18 homers for Bregman. 8 for Altuve with 9 steals and a 146 WRC plus and only 182 plate appearances. Astros are kind of back to being the Astros again, at least through the top 5 here. Abreu's not terrible anymore. Well, he's kind of bad. It's still kind of bad, but not as completely inept as he was earlier. And he's still cheap, so for our purposes, you can bolt him in. Jeremy Pena's not been good. Jake Myers has been okay. 92 WRC plus. He was above the waterline for a lot of the season. Slipped recently, but a playable part down bottom. Martin Maldonado with Nojainer Diaz in the lineup today. Playable part at catcher. Limited, but playable. 8 home runs on the season. In Yankee Stadium, there's always upside for that, especially against a struggling Rodon. So this one, for me, I would go... I'm not going to put Rodon on top. Just for me, he probably is. Wow. Penguins acquired Erik Karlsson, Rem Pitlick, Dylan Ameluk, and a 3rd-round pick in a 3-team trade with the Sharks. Interesting. Wasn't expecting hockey news. So I'll go... For me, Carlos Rodon is still on top. But not for what we're talking about here. Not for you guys. I don't want to tell you that he's on top. I'll go Yankees bat. I'll go Astros bats, Yankees bats, Carlos Rodon. All right. Just because it's such a diminished version of the Yankees' bottom half. People blame a lot on, they're taking this home run approach. They don't care about strikeouts, blah, blah, blah. A lot of their problems are really that these guys all suck. Or the guys at the bottom of the lineup suck at turning the lineup back over. They can't sequence worth a damn. They just rely on home runs, but it's not that they're not hitting home runs. It's that the problem lies in, you don't see
these amazing teams not have big home run hitters who strike out a lot. You see them filled in around the edges with great players who turn the lineup over. So I think it's a flawed way that a lot of people are criticizing the Yankees. It's IKF is the problem. Harrison Bader is the problem. To a degree, Volpe is the problem. DJ's definitely a part of the problem. I don't know. Anyway, Yanks suck. So Astros, Yankees, Carlos Rodon, but I'll have way too much Carlos Rodon. The Royals, Zach Greinke. The Phillies, Taijuan Walker. I don't think we need to talk about not playing Zach Greinke. Even a 59-63, 15.5% strikeout rate, giving up 4.73% home runs, 5.32 ERA, 4.47 xFIP. Just throw some Phillies bats at him. Kyle Schwarber, Alec Boehm, Bryce Harper, Nicky Castellanos, Trey Turner maybe coming to life a little bit, up to 11 home runs, 21 steals. Maybe the standing O that they gave him worked. That was nice. The fans got on his side, gave him a little, hey, we still love you, we believe moment the other day on Friday night. That was nice. He returned a home run for them yesterday, at least. Stott's a good player in the heart of that lineup. Castellanos has been a little bit down recently, but hit his 16th home run the other night. Has definite power, an excellent bat in the heart of that lineup for 3,000. Bryce Harper, obviously major power, major stolen base upside, excellent triple slash, 121 WRC plus to lead the team. Schwarber with all his home run upside going up against Greinke. It's going to be a lot of soft pitches coming in toward Kyle Schwarber. Just picture, like a beer league softball hitter. Just giant guy just waiting to tee that up. So I like the spot for Schwarber, 12.94 in the home run model. Obviously, there's a lot of upside there. 4,900 for Schwarber is cheap too. His issue is around the 176 batting average, the 29.4% strikeout rate. Against Zach Greinke, that's not as big a factor. So I love the spot for the Phillies. Get a lot of Phillies today. I feel like it's a good spot. Bottom of the lineup with Sosa, Garrett Stubbs, Johan Rojas. Mix and match parts, not really all that good. Underperforming in terms of WRC plus. Nothing great in the triple slashes to speak of. Sosa does get the odd home run from time to time, particularly when we talk about him. So there he is. Taijuan, I mentioned at the top of the show, projects out okay for 75.89. I think you can go there for sure. I was actually expecting a little bit higher of a projection for him when I was putting things together, just given how people tend to project against the Royals. That just shows his limited quality. 3.99 ERA, a 4.50 xFIP, 20.6% strikeouts, pushing 10% walks. Not that bad for home runs or barrels, premium contact. He's basically a league average pitcher on a good day. Last year, same kind of profile, low strikeouts. Walks were a lot better last year. Contact was the same. ERA and xFIP were a little bit better. But he's a league average guy on a good day. So you will get good starts from Taijuan Walker from time to time. This could be one of them. Royals are very, very low scoring. There's enough strikeouts in that lineup for him. He's got to fade the power of not even Bobby Witt. So Sal Perez, it's a one-man lineup today that he's facing. Bump to Taijuan Walker for not having to face Bobby Witt. That's a little bump. Michael Garcia, okay with the batting average, 281, 325, 92 WRC plus though, 17 steals. Not that good. MJ, any given day, light tower power, excellent contact profile, doesn't see anything for the great contact. Sal, underperforming for the year. 88 WRC plus, a 179 ISO, 17 homers, that's fine, but it's not the 40-something that he hit 2 years ago. 10.4% barrels, 45% hard hits. That's good, but it's down from last year. Mike Massey, Freddie Fermin, Matt Beattie, Drew Waters, Matt Duffy, Kyle Isbell. Is there a threatening major league hitter in that group? Freddie, 154 plate appearances, 308, 346, 538, 231 ISO with a 138 WRC plus, 8 home runs. Arguably the best hitter on the team right now, Freddie Fermin. Not much here, guys. Bump to Taijuan. No faith in Taijuan, but it's definitely a good enough spot. For 7,500, you can take some shares of Taijuan Walker here. 89 is high price for him on FanDuel. I don't love paying that price for Taijuan Walker, but I think there's upside. You got to get the good version of Taijuan, but you can. I think it's there. So no love for Zach Greinke. Tons of Phillies. Some interest in Taijuan, given the witless version of the Royals lineup. See what I did there? No real interest in Royals. If I'm going to Royals, it's maybe as a hedge position any Taijuan that I take out, and it would be like these three guys. maybe Freddie Fermin, probably Michael Massey. Just run it straight down the top. Massey's an okay bat. 13% barrels last year, had a handful of home runs. This year, 9 homers and 287 plate appearances, but a really bad triple slash. 29% worse than average creating runs. He's cheap. An okay contact profile. Strikes out nearly 1 in 4. Yeah, bad lineup. Phillies big yes. Taiwan minor yes. No Greinke. Only hedge position for the Royals. Schwartz batting average is like 156. I don't care. I really, especially for DFS, I just don't care about batting average. And not for a hitter like that, too. Like, all I'm looking for from Schwartz is the 3-run home run. And when Schwarber offsets he offsets his low batting average to a degree with a 318 on base. So this could be better. He draws 16.3% walks to offset the 29.4% strikeouts. Yeah, he's not a reliable hitter, but if he's hitting a ton of home runs for me for DFS purposes, if he's barreling 14% of his batted ball events, he can be in my lineups. It's down from last year. That's why his price is down at $4,900. Last year he had 20.1% barrels, 54.4% hard hits. He had 46 homers and 669 plate appearances. Also got on base at a better clip, despite walking less and striking out a little bit more. So yeah, he was better, 218 average last year. Definitely better when he hits above the Mendoza line. But for DFS, I'll take him all day, especially at the discount. You're just getting Kyle Schwarber discounted by a couple $100. Like, you're not going to Kyle Schwarber because he's hitting 218 versus Kyle Schwarber because he's hitting 176. You're just going to Kyle Schwarber for home runs either way. So last year you would have gotten him for, 700 more at like 5,600 on DK? Just take the discount. He's the same player. Rays and the Tigers. No, see, Trey, I disagree with you on that too. From a baseball standpoint, I think he should be in the lineup every day. If you're not going to play him every day, you're not going to get enough home runs out of him. Don't sweat it, Chuck. We're Trey not talking about DFS. Yeah, no, look, it's a conversation. I see it a little differently. I think there's definite need for those 3 true outcomes type guys. But like Joey Gallo is one of my favorite hitters in the league. So there you go. Still should be a Yankee. Kills me. Anyway. So the Tampa Bay Rays not having Tyler Glasnow on the mound. Obviously a major downgrade to the pitching situation in Tampa like we talked about. I'm sure we've got the Rays lineup. We do. Let me pop it in here. I think we could definitely all know that we are throwing Rays bats at Matt Manning here. Kind of a nothing pitcher. 18.4% strikeouts, 6.6% walks, 5.33 xFIP, a 4.53 ERA, 4.08 home run, 11.2% barrels. That's going to play pretty well against this Tampa team, don't you think? So no issues here. Oh, why did Christian Bethancourt die again? The fuck? I fixed this. Why did this go away? That's weird. That's been fixed forever. His name being too long for Fantasy Labs. I wonder what happened that went away. I hope I didn't delete a tab. Don't mind me while I just Curtis Mead, I think, is a righty. Righty. Sorry about that, guys. Just wanted to pop Curtis Mead's handedness in here. That's bothering me now though with Bethancourt here. Mead, no supporting stats. Ignore the 0 in the home run model. I just don't have them updated in here yet. Premium prospect for the Rays. Their top prospect overall. Got the call up. In AAA this year, he was at over 211 plate appearances, 3 home runs, 3 steals, 12.8% walks, 14.7% strikeouts, 291, 373, 453 with a 107 WRC plus. Put the ball in play, get on base kind of a guy. 2,100, 2,500 at third base. definitely a good playable part in that lineup. Do you want to go to him all that often over Isaac Paredes and all his power at third base on DK for 4,200, a few spots above him in the lineup? Maybe not. On FanDuel, you get triple position eligibility on Paredes, which is fantastic, so I don't think you need to sweat it. Mead is definitely a playable part. The Rays are playable 1 through 9, basically. Even Bethancourt is a cheap catcher on DK where you need the position. Definitely in play. Less so on FanDuel. Brandon Lau, obviously good home run opportunity for Brandon Lau going up against Manning here. Any of the lefties, the switch hitters, any of Randy Arozarena, Yandy Diaz, it's just an elite lineup. I know they've cooled a little bit, but Yandy's still having a great season. 15 homers. He can power the ball. 154 WRC plus, 311, 395, 496. Franco's got power and speed. That's true for basically everybody in this lineup. Look at all these guys. Double-digit homers, double-digit steals, tons of homers, tons of stolen bases. Decent batting averages, very good on base percentages. This team's just good. This is kind of what I was talking about. Like, this team just has guys. No matter who hits in the bottom of this lineup, they're just really good at getting on base, like turning the lineup over. They're individual contributors this year as well with like home runs and stolen bases. But their ability to get on first is what I care about most from some of these hitters toward the bottom of the lineup. And then like all their guys through the heart of the lineup are obviously very good. It's just a really well-constructed ball club. Brian Reynolds not in the lineup today for the Pirates. We'll get to that one eventually, probably. It's noon. The slate starts at what? 1:35? Hit the gas pedal. All right, so Rays up and down. No need for Matt Manning here. 7,100, 7,200. Just not the right spot. Not a good pitcher. Tigers going up against Erasmo Ramirez. No love for Ramirez, who threw 32 innings earlier in the season out of the pen. 10.3% strikeouts, 4.1% walk rate, 5.34 ERA, 5.32 xFIP. Got stretched out in the minors and just not a high-end pitcher. I don't, even against the Tigers, I don't really see it. 17.6% strikeouts in 86 and a third last year, 18.3 and 26 2/3 the year before. Has always been targetable for a little bit of pop. I don't know that we go crazy rostering Tigers just because Ramirez and then part of the Tampa bullpen is on the mound. McKinstry, Veerling, Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson, Kerry Carpenter. These guys would be my priority if I'm stacking this team. Veerling, 7 home runs, 12 steals, below average for WRC plus. Maybe I skip McKinstry and go like Veerling, Green, Torkelson, Carpenter, and you can throw like Akil Baddoo in there for a little bit of cheap upside, 2,500, 2,300. A little bit of pop, a little bit of speed, very inconsistent, but it's the Tigers, so basically everybody's very inconsistent. Torkelson, good contact profile, 12.5% barrels, 50.3% hard hits, 15 homers, 170 ISO. It's coming along. Carpenter's their probably best power hitter. 11 homers from the left side and only 244 plate appearances, a 198 ISO. Riley Green's their best hitter overall, 302, 368, 467. I wouldn't leave these three guys out of many Tiger stacks. Let's put it that way. I want all three of those guys in most of my Tiger stacks. And then everybody else is kind of a bolt-on part for whatever. Javi Baez has been bad all season. 224, 262, 326, a 102 ISO, a 61 WRC plus, 7 homers, 10 steals. Just bad. Eric Haas, very infrequent power. Hasn't done it at all this year. So the Tigers are still bad. Very low-end stack, but they get a little bump. Rays way up here. Neither of the pitchers. Tigers way down here. Nationals with Jake Irvin on the bump. Reds with Lyon Richardson on the bump. Apparently this Richardson kid is pretty good. Going to be a good pitcher over the long term. But like I said at the top of the show, not getting more than 4 innings. I'll pull them up real quick just so we can... come on. So 15 starts in the minors, only 46 innings across 15 starts. A 2.15 ERA with a 3.69 xFIP, so the xFIP's a little bit higher, but was pitching to a... I'm sorry, that's AA. Only got 1 start in AAA, 3 innings. So that was AA numbers. I was going to say this would have been an astronomical strikeout rate. In the 1 start in AAA over 3 innings, he struck out 55.6% of hitters. That's what made my eyes pop for a second. If he had sustained that over 15 starts and 46 innings in the other sample, that would have maybe been playable over 4 innings. 30.9% strikeout rate in the 46 innings, 15 starts. I just don't think, because he hasn't seen more than 4 innings, I doubt they drop him into the show and say, all right, kid, full start, go get him, let's see a complete game out there. So I don't think we need to go to Lyon Richardson. But at the same time, I do think that could have a limiting effect on anything the Nationals might do at the plate. So a team that I don't really like going to anyway, kind of a low-end group. There's a little bit of quality around like Lane Thomas, Joey Meneses with the hit tool, drink. Keibert Ruiz, a little bit of power behind the plate. CJ's really turned it on over the last like 2 months since he got that bump to the leadoff spot. So if you're going to Nationals, it's these 4 guys, maybe some Blake Rutherford, oddly. 2,000 on both sites in the outfield. Former first-round pick. First or second? Second-round pick, I want to say. Nope, first round. 18th overall, Yankees. That's why I knew his name. Never really landed in the show at all. In AAA this season, 120 plate appearances, 4 homers, 5 steals. Low strikeout rate, putting bat on ball fairly well. He's 26 years old, though, so like you would expect that in AAA. Quad A type guy, but it's been the season of Quad A type guys this year, so you can grab some Blake Rutherford. Jake Alou, Alex Call, Ildemaro Vargas from the bottom of the lineup. A lot of bolt-on parts down there. The Reds against Jake Irvin, I definitely think is a playable spot. Where'd they rank out on the board? 3rd overall by projection, 7th for home runs, 4th on both sites by points per dollar value. Ellie, TJ Friedel, Matt McClain, Christian Encarnacion Strand getting in the cleanup spot today. I love that. So really, the 3 rookies, Ellie, Matt McClain, and Encarnacion Strand, are massive priorities here. If you're going to Reds, I want a lot of all 3 of those players. McClain and Ellie are pricey. Encarnacion Strand helps average it down, and he's every bit the hitter the other 2 are, if not a little bit better for reliable power right now. He's got 1 home run in 63 plate appearances, a .085 ISO, 44.4% hard hits, 4.4% barrels. McClayton's been the best one at the major league level, but both Ellie and Encarnacion Strand were absolutely raking in the minors, both expected to hit. Ellie's obviously been good, 102 WRC plus, so he's back above the waterline. 9 homers, 17 steals, and 226 plate appearances. Flaws, obviously, around 33.6% strikeouts, but it's Jake Irvin on the other side with a 17.7, a 9.7% walk rate, a 3.7% home run rate on 10% barrels, 4.86 ERA, and a worse xFIP. Come on, we're throwing Reds bats at Jake Irvin here. Joey Votto, 11.45 to lead the team in the home run model. He's got 11 and 145 plate appearances with a 294 ISO, 16.3% barrels, and he's cheap. Sucks that you get him and Encarnacion Strand at the same position on DK. No issues on FanDuel, obviously. Stevenson, playable part at catcher. Senzel, better when it's a lefty on the hill, but he's playable, 3,700, 2,800. 9 homers, 5 steals, 79 WRC plus. Will Benson, very good from the bottom of the lineup. 7 homers and 10 steals and 199, 132 WRC plus. Just keeps on rolling. 238 ISO, good contact profile from him. Only 3,300, 3,000 because he hits late in the lineup, but he's done all this damage from the bottom of the lineup. So I like Will Benson. Fairchild, another playable part for cheap. So I like stacking Reds quite a bit here. I think that's probably going to be a popular spot, but I think it's well worth it. So neither pitcher. Reds enthusiastic, yes. Nats just as like a hedge position with like top 6. Mix and match some top 6. Not many of them. D-backs and the Twins. Zach Gallen leading the board. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Rock Obama says, why nobody liked it? I never said that out loud. Rock Obama. I get it. Or maybe your name is just Rock Obama and it sounds just like what it sounds like. Anyway, I assume it's the intentional sound there. Why does nobody like the Braves today? I like the Braves today. Braves are ranked 2nd on the projection board, 3rd by home runs, even though it's Justin Steele on the mound. Justin Steele's just a pretty good pitcher, but I like the Braves. Steele's good at limiting home runs. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, I don't think nobody likes the Braves, Rocco. Shannon says, no way I'm going to Heaney today. Feels like the ultimate troll spot for him. Totally like Heaney to follow up 38 DK points with 5 DK points. That's exactly who Andrew Heaney is. We say it every time we talk about him. Tons and tons of home run downside. Gets you that strikeout upside from time to time. So, yeah, that's it's on the board in either direction. But, yeah, I'm leaning in toward the power side of that Heaney thing. Zach Gallen, top of the board now that there's no glass. Now, monster projection going up against the Twins. 26.2% strikeout rate for the Twins on the other side. I do think you can maybe stack up some Twins just to grab a hedge position here, but Gallen's been really good overall. 3.41 ERA, a 5.1% walk rate with a 26% strikeout rate. Works deep into games, 142 and 2/3 in 23 starts. I believe that's the league lead or close to it. Giving up a little bit of premium contact of late, 8.9% barrels, 45.2% hard hits, 91 plus miles an hour of exit velo. It's a lot of exit velo, a lot of power coming back the other way. So if one of these guys manages to square them up, these home run hitters on this team could definitely hit home runs. But they're very bad for strikeouts. It's a good target for Gallen. 10-6 is the right price on both sites. On a oddly short pitching slate, I do think there's plenty of room for Zach Gallen shares when he projects like this. So I'll have tons. I will have a little bit of hedge around Edward Julian, Carlos Correa, Max Kepler. Solano is a playable but also skippable part. More batting average focus, put the ball in play focus, but does create runs better than average. A decent option. Just miscast, I think, as a cleanup hitter here. Wallner, a lot of power for cheap, 2,500, 3,200, 6 homers and 93 plate appearances. Jeffers, it was Jeffers yesterday that had the monster day. We talk about him a lot anytime he's in the lineup. Very cheap, high-end catcher power. 8 home runs and 203 plate appearances, a 45.3% hard hit, 10.3% barrels. Christian Vasquez also in the lineup, much more skippable. Hasn't been good this year, hasn't been good in quite a while. Willie Castro, I think somebody mentioned him in the chat. Don't skip Willie Castro. I kind of agree with that. I think he's a definitely playable part, particularly in twin stacks. 246, 330, 375. You're looking for him to get on base, maybe steal you a bag, score you a couple of runs. He's inconsistent, but he's a contributor. 99 WRC plus puts him below average, but you get him for 2,700 on both sites. Dual position eligibility on DK, triple on FanDuel. So I don't care that he's 1% below average creating runs. I care about the steals. I care about the positional eligibility, how he helps average down the cost of basically everybody in this lineup is cheap, so he'll average something else down that you put into a lineup with Twins. Twins ranked out 5th on the board for DK value, points per dollar value, 11th for FanDuel points per dollar, only 15th by projection, 13th by home run upside because it's Gallen on the other side. It's not a both-sided situation. It's more, like I said, a hedge position, but I do think there's a little bit of realistic upside, a little bit of value-based upside for the Twins. Diamondbacks going up against Keuchel. We mentioned their extremely low strikeout rate against lefties. They're very good at not striking out against both hands, but particularly good in the 17s against left-handed pitching. Keuchel, not much of a strikeout pitcher anyway, was always effective at keeping the ball down. But like looking back at his numbers, just to remind everybody who this guy is, 14.9% strikeout rate in a struggling year last year, 60 and 2/3 in 14 starts, 9.2 ERA and a 4.72 xFIP the last time we saw him. Allowed a pretty high home run rate for a guy with only a 5.5 degree launch angle last year. Pretty much the same in terms of the home run rate the year before, despite a 5-degree average launch angle, 3.47% home runs, 8.9% barrels. So he's one of these ground ball pitchers that when he makes a mistake, it's a loud, long, high mistake. And he doesn't strike anybody out. 14.9 last year, 13.2 the year before. Too many walks, 10.2% walks last year, 8.2% the year before. High whips. 2.2 plus whip is ridiculously bad. I was going to say the 1.53 whip was really bad, and then I noticed the 2.06 last year in the small sample. Just hasn't been good in some time now, even at what he historically does well. So I'm really, really limited in the spot. Dimitri, I do wish you luck, pal. He's very cheap. I don't think it's out of the question that you can find some upside with it if he gives you 6 innings of clean innings. But that's a thin play, my friend. But yeah, good luck to you. I'm not going to try and talk you out of it. You seem committed. You seem to have beliefs. So good luck. So for me, it's enthusiasm about Gallen. And then we're going to some Diamondback stacks on the other side. Ketel Marte in the leadoff spot now. Corbin Carroll follows. Tommy Pham, I like him hitting third here. Pham ahead of Christian Walker and Lourdes Gurriel. That's interesting because Pham's good at hitting home runs and stealing bases on his own. He's also fairly good at getting on base, a 342 on base, 261, 342, 456 overall, 21% better than average creating runs. Just a nice cheap bat to stick in there with a discounted Christian Walker. He should be more expensive than $5,000, $3,200. 22 home runs on the season, a 244 ISO, puts the ball in play when he's not hitting home runs, only 19.3% strikeouts. That's a very cheap first baseman for his quality. Lourdes Gurriel hasn't been good for his triple slash. He's okay, but not what we expect from him from the triple slash. But the power came back this year, so it was kind of a trade-off from what we saw last year. I'll take this version of him, 253, 302, 470. I'd like to see a little more on base, but 18 homers, 216 ISO, still 105 WRC+. Bottom of the lineup, McCarthy's got speed. Emmanuel Rivera can get himself to first base via the batting average, maybe a little bit with his just ability to put the ball in play. Nick Ahmed, Carson Kelly, kind of flawed options at the bottom of the lineup. So real priorities are like 1 through 5 here, obviously. And then the key bolt-ons are 6 and 7. I'll definitely have some D-backs. They're pretty cheap. They rank 4th by projections, 1st by FanDuel points per dollar value, 2nd by DK points per dollar value, but only 12th by home run upside. Limited in terms of the home run upside. Enough of Keuchel's history is still in here in terms of the ground balls, in terms of the launch angle, that it cuts their home runs a little bit. But that said, he wasn't good the last 2 years at actually doing that. So there might be a little bit of sneaky home run upside on the board. So definite yes, Zach Gallen. Definite yes, Diamondbacks bats. Hedge position with Twins. Dallas Keuchel's not for me, but good luck to Dimitri. Dimitri's been getting them right lately, too, so definitely on the heater. Pirates and the Brewers, a few games to go. Coming up on 12-17, we got time. I keep panicking about the time because in my brain it's a 105 start, not 135. Just used to 105s. Brewers. I wanted to look at Woodruff's 2 games. Bear with me. Apologies for not talking while I wait for Fangraphs to load up here. So Woodruff, 2 starts back against the Cubbies, went 6, struck out 8, gave up a home run. That was the only run he gave up, 3 hits. Second game back, 5 1/3 against the Cards, struck out 4, walked 2, no runs, 4 hits, 20 batters faced. I think there's realistic upside for Woodruff here. The projection might be a little bit long in terms of a like a mean projection, but definitely a ceiling. Good ceiling for Woodruff. 28.6% strikeouts in the tiny sample, a .79 ERA, a 3.53 xFIP. None of that really matters, but we're talking about a guy who's a 30% strikeout pitcher over time. 153 in the third last year, 30.6, 305 ERA, 314 xFIP. 29.8 over 179 in a third the year before, 256 ERA, 305 xFIP. Very, very good pitcher. So I'm pretty enthusiastic about the spot for Brandon Woodruff here against the Pirates. 9,300, 9,600. He's pretty cheap for his upside. So I'm going to probably have quite a bit of Brandon Woodruff. Limited doses of the Pirates, too. Josh Palacios leading off. Connor Joe not against a lefty. Alfonso Rivas, Henry Davis. So no Brian Reynolds. No Andrew McCutchen. Sawinski's in the lineup, but hitting 5th. Cabrian Hayes. We've talked about his hard hits and how he should be a better hitter, but he's not. All the kids, I like the kids in this lineup, like Andy Rodriguez, Leovir Peguero, Jared Triolo, Henry Davis, Alfonso Rivas. They've all been producing in different ways since their call-ups to the show. All very limited samples, but they all seem like capable kids who might stick at the major league level. But I don't know that I want to throw them into Brandon Woodruff with like no veteran support in this lineup now. It's a really yikes kind of a lineup. There's major upside for Brandon Woodruff in this slate, given no like capable veteran presence in this Pirates lineup. If you go to the Pirates, you definitely want to have Sawinski. I would say you definitely want Sawinski and Henry Davis in the middle of the lineup, and then you're bolting on whoever. If you believe in Cabrian Hayes, and I kind of do in terms of the sustained hard hit rate over time, but he hasn't produced with it, I would put him in. I would probably put Peguero for very cheap, given his power upside. If you need a catcher, if you're on DK, maybe go Endy. So maybe you go like those guys. It's not a good stack. This is not a good spot for the Pirates against Brandon Woodruff. Major enthusiasm about Woodruff. I do think you can maybe use some Oviedo against the Brewers here. Projects out pretty well. The price discrepancy is crazy. 6,900, good SP2 option on the DK slate. 9,000 on FanDuel, kind of a stretch on the single pitcher site. He projects out as playable, but not great. 4.42 ERA, 4.59 xFIP, walking too many at 9.4%, 20.4% strikeouts, so not a major strikeout option. Going up against the Brewers, who put the ball in play pretty well, have been up and down for the season, but do have a lot of capable hitters in that lineup now. I don't love it. I probably won't get there on FanDuel. It's a little bit thin, I think, on FanDuel for the money. 69, I think he's a good SP2 option on DK. Not somebody to go crazy for, but somebody who can work in as a playable part. Brewers, I think you can definitely go to, given the contact that's available, given the lack of strikeouts, the free passes available. Christian Yelich is a star for 53.36. Contreras is a good catcher option, hitting second, 49.31. Carlos Santana, switch hitter with power, 4,300. Willy Adames, flawed hitter, but tons and tons of power at shortstop. Sal Frelick's been on a roll since his call-up, 263, 415, 474, creating runs 40% better than average, and 2 homers in his 53 plate appearances, and he's still cheap. Kana, serviceable veteran with a little bit of pop in his bat. More power last year. 6 homers, 322 plate appearances this year. Not great, but he only cost 2,600 on both sites. Monasterio's been good for run creation, over 145 plate appearances. Joey Wiemer's been good for counting stats in irregular. Cannot talk this morning. That's what happens when I get up too early. Joey Wiemer in an irregular way, contributor of counting stats, kind of like Anthony Volpe-ish. 13 homers, 11 steals. Infrequent contributions, but a good athlete who can contribute. So Woodruff, big yes. Some Brewers. No real interest in the Pirates. Oviedo on DK is an SP2 mix-in kind of a guy. Rocks and the Cards. Cards lineup is in. Okay, so Gomber is very cheap. Doesn't project well here for me at all. 15.7% strikeout rate, 5.68 ERA, a 4.73 xFIP, giving up way too much premium contact. 91 miles an hour of exit velo, 45.8% hard hits, 4.48% home runs for the lefty going into these all these good power hitting righties. Nolan Gorman's in the lineup today, so that shows what the Cards think of former Cardinal Austin Gomber. I don't know that I really like the spot here for Gomber. Somebody did mention he's on a run of quality starts. 2 in a row, not 3. 2 in a row, couple before that, 4 in a row before that, or no, 3 in a row before that with a good 5-inning start. Still not really striking out anybody. Gave up a home run in 3 of those last 5 starts. 1 strikeout, 2 strikeouts, 5 strikeouts, 4 strikeouts, 5 strikeouts. You know, somewhat reliable to work 6 innings. Maybe he gets you there on the quality start. But those came against the Giants, who were up and down, the Yankees, who were bad. The bad start where he gave up 4 runs, a homer, struck out 5, 8 hits to 26 hitters in 6 innings was against Houston, who was elite against lefties. Washington, who's pretty good against lefties. He had a decent start, but only struck out 4. Only gave up 1 unearned run, but 6 hits. And then the Pods, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 5 Ks, 6 hits against 24 hitters. He can be okay. Like that Pod start is probably your upside. 6 innings, 2 earned runs, 5 Ks, 2 walks, 6 hits. On DK, where that can ding you a little bit, 5,700. The price is right. You can throw the dart on DK if you wanna. 76 on FanDuel. I don't think I get there very often. It's probably not even a dart throw. I think the ceiling's just very, very low, especially against these cards. I do want to go to some cards against him, particularly these 2 cards. Actually, these 3. I'm a Tyler O'Neill sucker. 3,500, 2,600. 5 homers on the season and 156 plate appearances. I'm chasing this Tyler O'Neill. 34 homers and 15 stolen bases and 537 with a 145 WRC+, 274 ISO, 560 slug the last time he was fully healthy 2 years ago. I'll just continue to go to Tyler O'Neill as long as he remains cheap. Hopefully getting off the schneid a little bit with that homer yesterday, day before, whatever it was. Gorman, even lefty. I'll take my shares. 4,200, 3,500, massive power. You get him against the bullpen probably at some point. Jordan Walker's been really good. 2,900 on both sites. Very cheap. 10 home runs, 5 steals, 106 WRC plus, and 276 plate appearances. Guy came into the season as one of the most highly regarded rookies. Broke camp with the team, got sent back down, got called back up, and he's been good since that call-up. Dylan Carlson is okay. Neisner, okay. And then Newbar at the bottom, even lefty again. Garber will probably see him once or twice, but there will probably be 2 plate appearances for Newbar against already. Or maybe it's just 1, but he'll get an opportunity. So I like Newbar even at the bottom. Cards kind of play 1 through 9. Tommy Edman, capable part, 7 homers, 14 steals. I like him when he leads off or hits 9th. So you get him ahead of Goldschmidt and Arenado here. They're the 2 stars. You just pay whatever they cost. 127 and 125 WRC plus, 18 homers, 23 homers. Last year's MVP. 2 probably future Hall of Famers. Just go to those 2 guys. Rockies side of things, going up against Zach Thompson to start the game. Thompson also just acting as an opener here. I didn't see a announced bulk reliever, but Thompson maxes out at 2 innings. Have the Cards announced a bulk reliever? Did anybody see it? What do you mean? Oh, did I miss? Which 2 starts were in April? Did I screw that up? What was that, with Woodruff? My bad. I thought those were return starts. I missed the dates on that. That's my fault, guys. Does he have a pitch count? This is his return. Hold on. Let me unwind Woodruff. My bad. Thank you for shouting that out loud. Oh, come on. Can you guys hear Joker in the other room? He's rolling around on my couch. I know what he's doing because I can recognize the sound. He wants me to come, play. See, this is what happens when I don't write the article. I missed that it was Woodruff pitch count. Let's see if these guys have a pitch count. Nope. All right. So if Woodruff's on a count, that's going to concern me. They've got him at where they project pitch count across town, one of the other fantasy sites. They've got him over 90 pitches. They might have missed it too. Just bear with me. Apologies for the just silence and like kind of staring into space here. I'm looking at stuff on the browser that you guys don't see. Let's see, game logs. 4 2/3 against Durham on August 1st. 4 innings, July 27th. 3 innings, July 22nd. 3 rehab starts, went 4 2/3 the last time. I'm kind of getting get on board with 85 plus. I think 85 is on the table. And given that he's in that matchup for that price, maybe the projection's a little long, but that's not crazy. Yeah, it gives me a little bit of faith, particularly with them across town having them at 91. A lot of guys on the board with less pitch count than that. It is a little bit more of, I guess, a risk, a little bit more of a dart throw. I'm going to keep it in and keep it around this level when I run lineups and stuff, though. I'm going to assume 85 pitches is on the board for Woodruff, given that he went into the fifth inning in the last rehab start. He got 20 DK points in April against the Cards on only 84 pitches. Yeah, I mean, he's got that monster upside. 72 pitches in the last rehab start, Larry. Yeah, so another 10. For what it's worth, the DK blurb says he is expected to get 85 to 90. Okay. Yeah, I'm going with... I'm going to leave Brandon Woodruff alone. I'm going to take him as he is. Good note, though. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Definitely call that shit out when I miss it. So we were talking Zach Thompson here. So I think he's maxing out at a inning or two. We don't... I don't think have a bulk reliever like I was saying. So I don't know that there's a bulk reliever announced in this one. I'm just going to say let's not go to Cardinals pitching here, but that doesn't lead us into Rockies hitting all that much, especially with a lefty opening the game. We talked just a minute ago about how bad they are against lefties. So figure Thompson, if Thompson goes 2, he takes a full plate appearance away from all those guys, and then whoever comes in faces these 3 guys first. So now we're in the 4th inning before these guys come back around against a righty or whatever. It's not a good spot for the Rockies. If you do go to the Rockies, you probably want to include Ryan McMahon and Nolan Jones, even with a lefty opener. You just sacrifice that first plate appearance, or you hope that they come through in that first plate appearance. Tovar is okay in the leadoff spot. Not great, but okay for home runs, a little bit of speed. Elias Diaz as a catcher, if you're playing on DK, is definitely in play when you go to Rockies. 29 on FanDuel. He's playable over there. Not great. Montero and Michael Toglia, we've talked about them a bunch of times in recent Rockies reviews. Tons and tons of power from those 2 young kids. So you play those 2 guys if you're going to Rockies. I would focus on like these 4 hitters, and then everybody else is a bolt-on if I'm going to Rockies. They're very cheap. There's a little bit of potential given the opener bulk reliever situation, but it's not great. So definitely I'm going to go to some Cards bats. Very tempered expectations for Austin Gomber, but like if you're going to roll the Dallas Keuchel dice, you could also roll the Austin Gomber dice at 5,700 on the DK slate. No on the Cards pitching. Very minor interest in anything Rockies. Shannon says I would take him for sure over Gallon today, but I think it limits Woodruff's upside at his prices at all. Yeah, it could put a little bit of a cap on his ceiling, but it's kind of a low ceiling pitching day in a lot of spots. So there's that. Charlie Morton, Justin Steele. So we mentioned the Braves were pulling great projections even against Justin Steele here. Let me see if we got the confirmed lineups in. We do, because this slate starts in like an hour. I'm going to try and get through these last 2 kind of quick. Braves, Cubs. We've also got the lineups in that last game. I'm going to grab those now while we, so we don't have to come back for them. I think we had the Marlins already. Nope. Marlins and Rangers. All right. All right. So Charlie Morton, 24.5% strikeout rate, 10.3% walks, 3.62 ERA, and a 409 xFIP, giving up a little bit of premium contact, but not too many home runs over the course of the season. But he's been a little bit up and down, I feel like. We've gotten a little bit more dinged with Charlie than in years past. He's still got the upside of the old Charlie Morton, but like last time out, 8 strikeouts, but 3 home runs. Time before that, only 3 2/3, gave up 4 runs, 5 walks, only 1 strikeout. Through July, just kind of wasn't all that good, all that reliable. 1 decent start, went 7, but only struck out 4. So with the strikeouts kind of going up and down, he was better for Ks earlier in the year, looked more like the old Charlie Morton earlier in the year, and then did bounce back to 8 the last time against the Angels, but that was an ugly start. So I don't know how much leash I have for Charlie Morton at this point. 99 feels a little high on DK for who he's pitching like this season. 94 on FanDuel with similarly priced options that I like a little bit better. I don't know how much Charlie I get to today. He'll definitely be in my pool when I build lineups. He projects out okay. In the sorting process, though, where price comes into play a little bit, I'm not sure how much I get to against the Cubs lineup that I think is very playable against him here. I like the Cubbies. They get on base like crazy. They sequence like crazy. They've got a decent amount of power through the lineup. A lot of the guys who had been scuffling for power have kind of come on, like Dansby Swanson up to 17 home runs now. Ian Happ up to 13 home runs now. Kind of coming on and starting to look a little bit more like themselves in the power department. And they were already getting on base and doing everything right other than that. Ian Happ, 377 on base, 21% better than average creating runs. Cody Bellinger, just a dynamite season overall. Still only a 15.3% strikeout rate, 16 homers, 16 steals, 144 WRC plus, and 340 plate appearances. So only cost 54.42. The 42 is right and high on FanDuel, but 54 on DK. Arguably cheap for who Cody Bellinger is now, or is back to being. Heimer Candelario is nice in this lineup now. Chris Morel and all his power. Two mix and match kind of guys down the bottom of the lineup, but 1 through 7. Yes, I even include Mike Tauchman in that now. Just because he's still cheap. He still hits leadoff. He's still getting on base like crazy, creating runs like crazy. So I think he's definitely a playable part as long as he's still inexpensive. Nico at 48 on DK, I've mentioned a few times. I do think that is a little overpriced for a guy who's not all that reliable at getting on base. Steals bases when he does get on, but not all that reliable for power, below average for run creation. I feel like that's a little bit of a Nico Horner tax. 34 on FanDuel, arguably the same thing, but at least you get two positions over there. Braves against Justin Steele. Justin Steele, 1.68% home run rate this year. Last year in 119 innings, a 1.56 on 3.9% barrels. This year, 5.9% barrels. Last year, 7.4 degree average launch. This year, 10.4 degree average launch. Last year, 33.3% hard hits. This year, 34.5. More exit velo, oddly, last year than this year. Year before, in 57 innings, wasn't as good for home run upside, but was still good at cutting barrels, cutting launch angle. He's a good pitcher in a not good spot. 22.3% strikeout rate. Doesn't get himself in trouble via a 5.1% walk rate, 11.5% swinging strikes, but the Braves aren't easy to strike out. They're not going to really help him in that, and they're just so elite up and down the lineup for power, for run creation, for sequencing. There's just nothing this team doesn't do well. And they hit home runs in just massive, massive bunches. So I'm much, much more on the Brave side of this one. I get it if you want to go to some Justin Steele shares, but I think it's more a situation where maybe he limits the Braves to no home runs and just a handful of runs, or one home run and just a handful of runs. Maybe. But if nobody's going to the Braves, if they're not projected out well on other sites, like somebody asked if why nobody likes them, if that's true across other sites, I'll definitely go to some Braves here and be happy about it. Ronald Acuna, Ozzie Albies, Austin Riley, Matt Olson. We always talk about Travis d'Arnaud over the weekend because that's when he plays, when Sean Murphy gets a day off. d'Arnaud is a downgrade from Murphy, but not by much. He's got a ton of power, 9 home runs on the season, hit 18 in 426 plate appearances last year. He's got an 11.5% barrel rate, 41.8% hard hit rate, and he makes up the gap by being a lot cheaper than Sean Murphy. So you definitely can still play the catcher on the Braves. Ozuna's been great. Arcia, Michael Harris, two of the best bottom lineup guys in the entire league. Kevin Pillar, all right, he's out there, mixing kind of a play. Maybe you skip Pillar if you're building lineups, and if you're building a ton of lineups, you don't skip them in all of them. But maybe you can skip Pillar if you're building like 1 to 3 Braves lineups. That said, 6 homers on the season for him in 123 plate appearances, a 214 ISO. He's not here for his hitting. He's here for his defense, but he can hit the ball a little bit. So very limited enthusiasm for either one of these pitchers, but they're both on the board in the pool. If they come up in lineups, they would be in limited shares, and I wouldn't take them out. But no real faith in either one of the pitching options today. Definite interest in some Cubs, and more interest than that in the Braves. Last game on deck. So Heaney on this side of this game, he projects out okay, but the Marlins have been really, really good. I think it was 4th in the league when we looked the other day for run creation against lefties. Excellent power, excellent ISO against lefties. Good amount of home run upside here. They've got... Okay, Berger is in the lineup. I thought I missed him for a second. So Jorge Soler and Jake Berger can both mash in this spot. They're both at 16 plus in the home run model. Soler has a 400 plus ISO against lefties this year. Like half of his home runs, or like 11 of his home runs when we looked at it the other day. Luis Arias getting on base ahead of Soler. Josh Bell in the lineup now for them for very cheap. That's a capable bat for those prices, 3,000, 2,800. He hasn't been good this year, but he's a good hitter over the course of time. I believe in Josh Bell. Switch hitter to have hitting third is also good. Brian De La Cruz has been good this year. Jake Berger's got massive power. Avisai Garcia was once upon a time a really fearsome hitter against left-handed pitching. So I think there's upside for Avi Garcia to hit a home run today. 8.16 in the home run model is very good for a guy with a $2,400, $2,300 price tag in the outfield here. Julie Gurriel, still a good hitter, not great for power, not great overall, but better against lefties. So there's a little bit of upside for Gurriel at the bottom of the lineup. Birdie's got 12 steals this season. He led the league with 41 last year. You can see the difference in John Birdie year to year. Stallings kind of a mix and match play. Top 7 for the Marlins. I don't dislike it. There's always that crazy upside for Heaney, that 10-12 strikeout upside for Heaney. 24.9% strikeouts this year. Last year was 35.5 in 72 and 2/3. Year before, 26.9 in 129 and 2/3. And tends to do it in bunches, like monster strikeout game, terrible game with 3 home runs allowed, terrible game with 3 home runs allowed, monster strikeout game. Overall this season, 4.15% home run rate, over 90 miles an hour of exit velo, 10.9% barrels on a 15-degree average launch. That's just home run trajectory all day. Texas Rangers against Sandy Alcantara. Alcantara, Sandy, come on. 1241. So, God damn it. I hate it when the page moves when something loads. And Graphs is not great at that. The other site that's terrible for that is FanDuel. It doesn't tend to do it when you're like trying to click to like load lineups or whatever, but a lot of the time, like it's got that load the page and then, oh, there's that last little drop down, and that was where our ad came in. You accidentally click on the ad. It's such a pain in the ass. So last 2 starts for Sandy have been Sandy Alcantara kind of starts. 7 Ks against the Rays in a complete game, 1 earned run on 5 hits. Then went 8 against the Phillies, struck out 5, walked 1, 4 hits allowed, no earned runs. That's Sandy back to form there. You're just looking for that depth of innings. He compiles strikeouts rather than being an elite strikeout pitcher. He tends to compile them over deep starts. 6 innings in 2 starts before that. 7 strikeouts, 5 strikeouts, 6 and 2/3. Hasn't given up. He gave up 4 earned runs against St. Louis. 3 starts back. 4 against Atlanta at the beginning of July. But other than that, 1 earned run or 2 earned runs or no earned runs in every start since the beginning of July. Kind of rounding into form, I think, a little bit for last year's elite National League Cy Young winner. Overall, still just a 4.21 ERA, a 3.96 xFIP, only a 20% strikeout rate, 2.37 home run rate, 6.5% barrels. So still overall hasn't been lousy for premium contact or anything. And last year, again, to highlight, 23.4% strikeout rate. Had a massive strikeout total because he threw 228 and 2/3 innings. But this isn't that crazy down from this. He's actually getting more swinging strikes than last year. CSW's down and he's throwing a couple fewer called strikes. But overall, in a lot of ways, he's not that far off and hasn't been all season. All season long, he was just kind of running into a bad inning and then pitching really well otherwise. So for 89 on the DK slate, even up against the elite Rangers here, I think there's definitely room for Sandy Alcantara. 10,000 on FanDuel. My hope is that he doesn't get that popular and I can roster him at low ownership because I do like the opportunity for Sandy to continue the run. That said, I will go to some Rangers on the other side. Semien, no Corey Seager in the lineup today, it looks like. So Semien, Nathaniel Lowe, Adolis Garcia, Josh Young, and then a lot of bolt-on parts. Mitch Garver, tons and tons of power as a catcher, 7 homers in only 151. Josh Smith at the bottom of the lineup, so no Ezekiel Duran today, but Leody Taveras is down there. He's a usable part from the bottom. Josh Smith actually kind of is too, 2,300, 2,400. A low-end guy, but 4 home runs and 149 plate appearances, creating runs at the same pace as Leody in the smaller sample. Robbie Grossman, an okay bat in the heart of the lineup here. This is really the focus, is these 3 guys and Semien. And then Jankowski getting on base well, stealing some bases, creating runs. As a correlation piece with the top 5, Jankowski's in play. Damn it. Top 5. Jankowski's in play. So, tough one to call. I'll go Sandy, Marlins bats, Rangers bats, Andrew Heaney. Here Terry's talking now like Sandy actually says Shane Hall. Price is good, 8.9. Yeah, Yeah, just Sandy at that price on DK is still very, very playable. Like, even if you don't get the premium version of Sandy, if he comes out and he's just an okay starter in that spot against it, as long as he doesn't get lit up, you're still doing all right if he gets a handful of strikeouts. Let's say he goes out and gives you 8 innings but gives up a few runs, you're still pretty okay. Jake says, Sandy throws fastballs, Rangers crush fastballs. Sandy scares the shit out of me. Fair point. He throws a pretty damn elite fastball, though, right? There are fastballs and then there are fastballs. We'll do this, and then I have to get out of here. Sandy, conscious stack this. There it is. Let's see. Sandy's fastball this season. Sandy's fastball this year, 420 slug, 383 X slug, throwing it 21.9% of the time at basically 98 miles an hour average velocity last year, and 2,250 RPMs of spin. It's actually added a touch of spin this year over year, throwing it at the same velo. Last year's slugging percentage was 0.413, and the X slug was actually higher at 422. The X slug is a lot lower, but the actual is a little bit higher this year, but basically the same pitch as it was last year. If you weren't worried about Sandy against the Rangers last year, I wouldn't really be worried about him this year. At least not for the fastball reason. He's got one of the elite fastballs in baseball. With that, let's jump over to the board one last quick time. So maybe Woodruff takes a little bit of a ding here on pitch count, but we're also, we're talking about a board that has Rodon, that has Quintana, that has Sandy, if he's unreliable, that has Andrew Heaney, Charlie Morton. We're talking about a lot of unreliable options through this slate. It's like unreliable, or at least like guys with questions, veterans who were once very good with questions. Somewhat unreliable, terrible matchup for Justin Steele as you go down the board here. And then you get into like the unplayable-ish kind of the part of the board. So it's a really deceptively thin pitching slate in my mind. So I don't know how much I would even ding Woodruff, even if I knew he was getting like 85 pitch count lock. I think he's just still right in this territory. He would probably project out more like Quintana here, or maybe Andrew Heaney or whatever. Like 28 is realistic. Maybe it's shaved 10 points off if you knew it was 85. But with the idea that he could get into the mid-90s, that's an additional strikeout or two. Like Woodruff, love Gallen. Obviously tons of upside, but Gallen could run into some home run danger. Quintana, Heaney, Rodon, all very affordable for their potential upside, but all with warts. Rodon has not been good. Quintana's capable, but bad matchup against the Orioles. Heaney, obviously wildly unreliable, and the Marlins are really, really good against lefties. Charlie Morton, we just talked about before, and Justin Steele, both just, decent pitchers over time. Steele, probably the better of the two pitchers right now, but a brutal matchup against the Braves. And Charlie, unreliable in a bad matchup against the Cubbies. Taiwan against the Royals might be a good spot, particularly for 75 on the DK slate. If he hits that I'm a league average pitcher day, he could have a good day against the Royals. Johan Oviedo, playable part at 6,900 on the DK slate, less so at 9,000 on FanDuel, and then no love for anybody really below Justin Steele, Erasmo Ramirez, Manning, Urquidy, Bassett. Bassett's probably the most playable guy down there, but I don't really like it against Boston for those prices. All right, guys, with that, it's 12:50. I got to punch out and get some lineups built. Joker wishes you all good luck. I wish you all good luck. Somebody go out there and win something. I appreciate you guys. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. I'm out of here. Thanks.